السلام عليكم يا شباب. هنكمل هنا تصحيح الهومورك بتاع المالتيبل تشويس بتاع السيلز. ده هنا ايه؟ البيولوجي اي جي سي اس اي 610. طيب the diagram shows a magnified image زي ما حضراتكم شايفين، وزي ما احنا حلينا قبل كده السؤال ده بيتكرر كتير. وبيجي يسأل حضراتكم يا جماعة الخير دلوقتي the human liver cell with a mitochondrion labeled the actual size of the liver cell is 20 micrometers. The image size of the liver cell is 40 millimeters. وبعدين بيقول لنا the image size of the mitochondrion is 4 millimeters. طيب هو طبعا هنا as expected هو هيسألنا the actual size of the mitochondrion عامل ازاي. فحضرتك ممكن تعمل ratios of a liver cell قصاد الميتوكوندريان او تمشي طريقه سيستماتيك تانية. it's up to you. خلي بالكم ان مسائل الماث دي ليها اكتر من طريقه للحل واكتر من ابروتش، فممكن بقى تشتغل كروس مالتيبليكيشن وتعمل ريشيو قصاد ريشيو، او انك انت تمشي بطريقه سيستماتيك انك انت تقول لي والله الليفر سيل از الاكشوال. احنا عارفين ان الايكويشن is magnification equals image over actual. فحضرتك هتقول لي الماجنيفيكيشن بتاع الدايجرام ده قد ايه؟ الصوره بتقول لي الايمج is 40 ملم، مش كده؟ والاكتوال is 20 مايكرومترز. فعشان اطلع الماجنيفيكيشن هتقول لي والله ده كده الماجنيفيكيشن بيقول لي انه 40,000 divided by 20 عشان يبقوا الاثنين ان ايه مايكرومترز. فتقولي لي اه والله ده انا عملت كده هون وطلعت الماجنيفيكيشن is 2000، مش كده؟ فتيجي تقول لي طيب دلوقتي الميتوكوندريان از 4 ملم، يا ترى الاكتشوال كام؟ فتقولي لي طيب انا عايزه اطلع الاكتشوال ومعايا انه الايمج از 4 ملم، يعني 4000 مايكرومترز، ومعايا الماجنيفيكيشن ان هو 2000. فحضرتك تقولي لي يبقى الاكتشوال كام؟ تقولي لي 2 مايكرومترز. 2 مايكرومترز. طب وبعدين تقولي 2 مايكرومترز دي تساوي كام؟ تساوي 0.002 مليمترز. كلام جميل. تمام. طيب وبعدين يا شباب اقول لحضرتك the next question is asking you the diagram shows structures associated with a leaf. What is the level of organization of the part shown in detail؟ اللي قدامنا حضراتكم دون اللي احنا شايفينه ان ديتيل تحت الميكروسكوب شايفين ايه؟ فتقولوا لي حضراتكم والله شايفين tissues group of cells similar cells ايه شبه بعض كلهم. طب يجي حد يقول لي طب احنا في سيلز مش شايفين لها نيوكليس. احب الفت نظر حضراتكم ان السيل is a three dimensional structure، مش كده؟ فمطرح ما باخد السلايس بتاعي ممكن ما يكونش النيوكليس جه في السلايس. يعني مثلا زي ما تيجي حضرتك تاخد سلايس في برتقانايه، فممكن مطرح ما انت قطعت السلايس ما تبانش البذره، وممكن في سلايس تانية يبان كذا بذره. اوكي؟ يبقى عشان نبقى برضو ناخد بالنا من الحاجات دي. طيب زي ما انتم شايفين هنا بيقول لك the diagram shows a pollen grain of a rice plant. مالها البولين جرين دي؟ فبيقول لحضرتك والله the size of the image is 40 millimeters. يبقى ده هنا مين؟ وانا بجاوب السؤال كده احط خط تحت what am I looking at. الامج is 40 millimeters. الاكتوال is 40 micrometers. حلو قوي. يبقى the actual length is 40 micrometers. How many times has the diagram been magnified؟ فحضرتك تقول لي من micrometers لمليmeters is 8 times 1000. طيب is that true؟ اقول لك اه حول كده ال 40 micro millimeters into micrometers and divided by 40 هتلاقي انه فعلا it is 1000. طيب كلام جميل. اللقطه اللي جايه بيقول لحضرتك the diagram shows a single cell from an organism called Spirogyra. ده نوع من انواع البروتاكتست اللي احنا كنا بنقول في منهم animal like وفي منهم plant like. اللي قدامنا دي اكيد plant like. واشمعنى؟ تقول لي ما هي فيها chloroplasts اهي وفيها vacuole وفيها cell wall. Which features does the Spirogyra share with the plant cells؟ فحضرتك تقول لي فيها cell wall، فيها chloroplasts، فيها cytoplasm، فيها nucleus وفيها vacuole. إذا هدور على الرو اللي فيه كله ticks which makes the answer A. يبقى how to answer such a question you decide for yourself what the correct answer is. ما بقعدش أجرب كل سؤال يا ترى كل التكات ولا كل الإكسات، لا. You make your own answer and then you're going to look for the correct answer for choices that are given. طيب كلام جميل. A student was told that the drawing of a bacterial cell had been magnified 30,000 times. The length of the drawing was 45 millimeters. What was the actual length of the bacterium? حلو. وفي options millimeters ومicrometers and you need to watch out for that. لأن احنا اتفقنا إنه in order to do any equation, mathematical equation, لازم كل الunits تبقى the same. فحضرتك you are given the magnification, you are given the image. فتقولي لي إذا actual equals image divided by magnification. الimage هنا is length بتاعه is 45 millimeters. It's always easier to change from millimeters to micrometers. فتقولي لي كده divided by 30,000 صح كده؟ فتقول لي والله I'm going to cross out the zeros. 30 into 45 that's 1.5 1.5 1.5 ايه ده the size of the actual. طيب اليونت هتبقى ايه is the unit that we used here which is micrometers. هتقولي لي يبقى it's 1.5 micrometers. Is everyone okay? طيب let's move on. The next question. In which part of the cell does aerobic respiration occur? In mitochondria. This is one of the tic-tac questions. سؤال tic-tac. أول ما أشوف السؤال أنا عارف الإجابة مش هحتاج حتى أفكر. And these are the questions that save time for the others that need some more critical thinking. طيب, why do some root cells have root hairs? To increase the surface area of the cell. على طول يعني for the maintenance of temperature كلام فاضي. To increase the surface area of the cell. I know for a fact this is the correct answer, but I'm going to read the other two just to make sure. To increase the volume of the cell sub كلام فاضي. To provide a place for cell nuclei كلام فاضي. يبقى أنا صح الإجابة B. Which part of a plant root hair is partially permeable? على طول حضرتك تقول لي cell membrane, referred to as the cell surface membrane. اشمعنى بيقولوا عليه cell surface membrane? Because there are other membranes inside the cell. Around the mitochondria, there's a membrane. Around the vacuole, there's a membrane. Around the chloroplast, there's a membrane. For which part of the root hair is partially permeable? It is the cell surface membrane. So كلمة surface is reference to the cell membrane, the surface cell membrane. طيب, which part of a plant cell controls the movement of substances into and out of the cell? فحضرتك تقولي لي ده tic-tac question, cell membrane على طول. The diagram shows part of a leaf in a cross section. كلام جميل. ايه بقى اللي قدامي ده؟ فتقول لي حضرتك والله احنا هنا X دي الباليسيد سيل palisade mesophyll cell Y دي الجارد cell. Structures X and Y are both part of the same ايه؟ تقولي لا ده X ده part of the palisade mesophyll tissue. انا عندي الجارد cell ده جزء من الابيديرمال tissue. لا ده هنا حضرتك they're not part of the same tissue, they're part of the same organ. لان الكروس section قدام حضراتكم is a cross section of a leaf. والleaf is an organ. تمام كده؟ طيب وبعدين next question. فتقولي حضرتك والله the next question is two types of cell, one animal and one plant, were examined using a light microscope. Which row shows the correct combination of cellular features that would be observed in the cell? الانيمال cell هشوف فيها chloroplasts على طول. تقولي لا so these are out. هشوف فيها cell wall لا. يبقى انا كده عرفت على طول and the correct answer is B. طب can I check across to make sure? Yes, I will find a chloroplast in this plant cell and of course there's a membrane, cell membrane. طيب حلو قوي. يبقى the correct answer is B. Sunflowers have yellow flowers. Which cell structure is found in sunflower leaves but not in the petals? وهو قال لحضراتكم انه it's yellow, which means it's not green. It doesn't have the chlorophyll there, so it won't have chloroplasts. طبعا حضراتكم chloroplasts are not necessarily found in all plant cells. We don't find chloroplasts in the epidermal cells. We don't find chloroplasts in xylem or phloem. Not all, we don't find chloroplasts in the root hair cell. Chloroplast is not a must for all plant cells. طيب, the drawing is a magnification of a human liver cell. What is structure X? Structure X is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. اللي احنا قلنا والله حضراتكم it has ribosomes on its surface. It's the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum will smooth endoplasmic reticulum have been removed from the syllabus of 2023. So that's not in the syllabus anymore. مش هنلاقي questions على rough endoplasmic or smooth endoplasmic reticulum anymore. What organelles do we have in our syllabus? In the new syllabus, you still have the mitochondria, اللي هم these, and you still have the ribosomes. This is the site of protein synthesis. طيب, a question that we've seen in paper 4, why do you have the mitochondria looking differently? And this is a mitochondrion, this is another mitochondrion, this is another mitochondrion. ايه اللي مخلي shapes of the mitochondrion can vary, shapes and sizes? Two things عشان نبقى عارفين for paper 4. The mitochondria can be in different stages of development. يعني it's a small mitochondria that's still going to develop and become bigger. So different sizes and shapes, different sizes of the mitochondria and different shapes because of the following. إيه بقى؟ Different stages of development, different stages of growth. So ممكن تكون الميتوكوندريا دي لسه formed and still is growing, يبقى different stages of growth. الحاجة التانية حضرتك تقولي لي والله كمان انه ممكن الكروس سكشن الكت جاي at a different cross section. يعني ممكن تكون الميتوكوندريا كانت lying in a certain position, but when you cut through it the cross section looks different. ممكن اعمل cross section كده فتطلع circular, وممكن اعمل cross section طولي فيطلع شكلها كده اهو. الانجل of the cross section خلى الشيب شكله مختلف. طيب ايه بقى النظام هنا؟ يقول لحضرتك which process can be carried out by only one of these cells of only making and storing a starch. That's because الايه الchloroplast موجودة في plants only. طيب controlling the chemical reactions in the cell, this is the function of the nucleus. And that's present in both. Controlling the movement excuse me of substances in and out تقولي ده cell membrane, وده موجود في الاثنين. Using glucose inside the cell, ده respiration اللي بيحصل في الميتوكوندريا, and that happens in both. يبقى الحاجة اللي exclusive to one cell and not the other هي making starch اللي يبقى related للplants. The graph shows a cross section of a root. The root hair and the xylem are part of the same. تقولي لي والله a root hair is part of the epidermal epithelium من بره. Xylem is a different type of tissue خالص. فتقولي لي يبقى they are all part of the same organ and organism. Like they're not part of the same tissue. وبعدين جايب لحضرتك بيقول لك the diagram shows a fly. The line XY represents the length of the wing. The length of the line XY is 26 millimeters. The actual size of the wing is 4 millimeters. What is the magnification? Wallahi, they're both in millimeters, so you're simply going to do 26 divided by 4. فتقولي حضرتك والله ده 6 point كام؟ تقولي والله ده 6.5. Okay? Is everyone okay? طيب وبعدين هنا جايب لنا طبعا اللي قدامنا ده what is the structure labeled in front of us. That's a mitochondrion. Yeah, a tic-tac question. Which features are possessed by all plant cells? All plant cells have a cell wall. Not all plant cells have a chloroplast. Are we okay? يا شباب. Hope everyone is fine. The diagram shows part of the skin. What is the correct level of organization? The skin is an organ. How can you tell? Because you have different types of tissues. As we'll take later on, you have the epidermal tissue, epidermis, and then you have the dermis, and then you have the fatty layers. So you have 3 different types of tissue. Heart muscle cells have a high rate of metabolism. Which structure is required in high numbers? The mitochondria. A high metabolic rate means they need a lot of energy, and therefore they need a lot of mitochondria to provide that energy. The diagram shows a xylem vessel in a plant stem. The magnification is times 400. What is the actual width of the xylem vessel along the line XY? حضراتكم هنا, you're going to actually measure the line. So he didn't give it to you in this question. So you're simply going to actually go ahead and measure it. Okay. So you're going to measure it using the ruler علشان نشوف والله يا جماعة الخير how much اللينث بتاعنا هيدينا ايه. Okay. تمام. يبقى what you're going to see here اللي قدام حضراتكم ده هنا ايه؟ اللاين نفسه طوله 3.5 centimeters اللي هو 35 millimeters. If I'm going to change that into micrometers عشان احسب the actual width of the xylem in micrometers, you're going to say 35,000 divided by magnification, which is 400. It is going to give us 87.5 micrometers. حضراتكم, how you do that in the exam, you're going to use your own ruler and measure it. Usually in the past questions, they gave you that measurement. But if they don't, you're actually going to do that work for yourself. طيب, كلام جميل. In cells with a high respiration rate, there would be what would be found in increased numbers. High respiration rate, it takes place in the mitochondria. كلام جميل. Again, the diagram shows a mitochondrion, the length of which is 1 micrometer. The diagram is 70 millimeters long. فحضرتك تقولي لي 70 millimeters, that's equal to 70,000 micrometers divided by 1, يبقى المagnification بتاعي is 70,000 times. كلام محترم. طيب, which features do animal cells share with plant cells? ايه الفيتشرز اللي joint ما بين animal cells و plant cells? Again, which features do animal cells share? They both share a nucleus and the cytoplasm. They both have a cytoplasm, they both have a nucleus, they don't both have a chloroplast. Hence, what is shared is C. If you put your answer at the top and look for your answer in the given choices. The diagram shows a cell with an actual size of 30 micrometers. وهنا 30 millimeters. فتقولي لي والله 30 micrometers 30 millimeters is 30,000 divided by 30, which means it's magnified 1,000 times. The diagram shows a diagram of a human cheek cell. The distance between points X and Y on the diagram are 30 millimeters. The actual length of the cell was 60 micrometers. What is the magnification? على طول كده حضراتكم 30,000 divided by 60, cross them out, بقى عندي ايه؟ 500. Okay, usually the numbers are given in the biology questions are not challenging. They're not challenging. Okay. Okay. A bacterium is 0.5 micrometers long. A student makes a drawing of the bacterium. The student's drawing is 100 millimeters long. That's 10 centimeters. What is the magnification of the student's drawing? Again, you're going to put in, you have to make the units the same. So you're going to go ahead and go, well, it is 100 millimeters. It's equal to 100,000 micrometers divided by 0.5 micrometers. So you're going to tell me انه ايه النمبر بتاعنا هيطلع كام. فتقولي لي والله it is magnified 200,000 times. I hope everyone is doing well. Everyone can see what we're doing. Okay. The diagram shows a root hair cell. Why does a root hair cell contain a large number of mitochondria? To provide energy for the absorption of water. That's wrong. To provide energy for the diffusion. Diffusion is a passive process. To provide energy for osmosis, it's a passive process. To provide energy for the active transport of mineral ions from the soil, yes. So just to say to provide energy for the absorption is not enough. You have to continue reading the question till the end عشان نشوف what are we actually absorbing. If you're absorbing water, لا, water is a passive process. طيب كلام جميل. Let's change colors كده. فتقولي لي حضرتك what structures can be found in both plant and animal cells? Cell walls لا, cell walls لا, chloroplasts. يبقى the correct answer is D. The actual thickness of a leaf shown in the diagram is 2000 micrometers. ده الايه؟ actual. But its thickness in the diagram is 50. So you're simply going to do خلاص بقى, we got the hang of it, 50,000 divided by 2000. مش كده؟ So that we can actually calculate the magnification. Cross out the zeros, and 2 into 50 is 25 times. What is the function of a root hair cell? Absorption. None of the others apply. Absorption of both water and minerals. The diagram shows two guard cells. Which label shows the cell wall? The cell wall is D. C is the vacuole. B is the cell membrane. A is the chloroplast. Please note that for the cell wall, they can actually point on for the cell wall from the outside, or they can point to any part in the thickness. All of this thickness is the cell wall. So if he points into the thickness or just from the outside, this is also the cell wall. Okay, keep that in mind because that often confuses students. The diagrams show different levels of organization in a plant. Okay, fair enough. Which sequence shows the levels of organization in order from the smallest to the largest? So this is what I need to note when I'm answering such a question. Where is from smallest to largest, or vice versa? So the smallest is going to be the root hair cell. Then I'm going to have the tissue, and then I'm going to have the organ, and then I'm going to have the organism. So the order will be 4, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. 4, 2, 3, 1. That's the one. Okay, so for the cell, then the tissue, then the root, and then the fourth one is the organism. So as soon as I look, I'm going to cross out these two answers. And then the next one, is it which one comes next after the cell? Is it the tissue or is it the organ? So it's the tissue and then the organ, because the root is an organ. The diagram shows a plant cell. The biologist wants to find out the number of chromosomes it contains. Which labeled part should be examined? It's the nucleus, because that's the part that contains the chromosomes. The diagram shows a human liver cell. The length of the actual M, and this is the mitochondria, is 6 millimeters. So I'm making a note to myself. The length of the structure M on the diagram is 6 millimeters. The magnification is 2000 times. What is the actual? So you're going to say actual equals image over magnification. The image is 6,000 micrometers divided by a magnification, which is 2,000. Simply cross out the zeros. And that's like the size is 3 micrometers. Please note that the examiner is aware of some of the wrong calculations where errors can be made, how students can be confused. So just finding your answer in the choices doesn't necessarily mean it's the correct answer, because usually he puts the choices keeping in mind the kind of mistakes people will do. So just be focused and just don't play around with the numbers and see if it's going to be there or not. You need to know what you're doing. And as you can see, the magnification, this equation, the questions are very, very abundant. It comes so often. It is a popular question on the paper. So please make sure you know your equation, M equals I over A, and you can play around with it. Onion plant cells swell but do not burst when placed in distilled water. And I think this is from the other chapter, اللي هو movement in and out. Which cell component prevents the plant cell from bursting? It's the cell wall. And we've taken this when we were discussing the function of the cell wall. The diagram shows a plant epidermal cell. The distance on the diagram is 60 millimeters, so that's the image. The actual length is 150 micrometers. What is the magnification? So image 60,000 divided by actual, which is 150. So cross out a zero. 15 into 60, that's 4. Okay, so that's 400. Okie dokie. The photomicrograph shows a cell from a type of aquatic plant. Which parts labeled on the diagram indicate that it's a plant cell? The things that tell me it's a plant cell, the fact that it has a cell wall and the fact that it has a chloroplast. The nucleus is not an indication that it's a plant cell. The cell membrane is not an indication that it's a plant cell, because the things that are characteristic of plant cells are the chloroplast and the cell wall. So that's S and Q. Do I have such a choice? Yes, I do. Here you go. The diagram shows an image of a chloroplast. The image is 5 centimeters. Please note, this is centimeters. All the ones we've seen before, they were talking about millimeters. The actual length of the chloroplast is 5 micrometers. The magnification is 10,000. Why is that the case? Because to change from centimeters into micrometers, you're going to multiply by 10,000. If you're not sure, let's go from centimeters to millimeters. You're multiplying by 10. So that's 50. And then from millimeters to micrometers, you're multiplying by 1,000. So it's 10,000. Okay. The diagram shows 4 animal cells as seen under a light microscope. What is present at X? 2 cell membranes. It's an animal cells, they're not cell walls. The diagram shows a root hair cell. How is this cell modified for the absorption of water? It has a large surface area. Please note, the vacuole is not there for absorption. It's for storage. He's saying absorption of water. Keep in mind. A student draws a diagram of a mitochondrion. The diagram has a magnification of 20,000. The diagram is 5 centimeters long. Again, note that it's in centimeters. What is the actual? So I'm going to say 5 centimeters is equal to 50,000 micrometers divided by 20,000. So you're going to cross out the zeros and you're going to say it's 2.5 micrometers. Okay. A diagram shows a single-celled organism called euglena. Which labeled structure should also be found in an animal cell? So which of these labeled structures are found in an animal cell? The cell membrane, definitely. The cytoplasm and the nucleus. Large permanent vacuoles, no. Chloroplasts, no, because he's talking about the animal cell. So cell membrane, cytoplasm, and nucleus. I know what I'm looking for. The diagram shows some of the blood vessels and other structures in the human body. The blood vessels shown are all part of the same organ system. Yes? Okay. A photograph shows a plant cell nucleus measuring 2 millimeters. If the magnification of the cell is 500 times, what is the actual size of the nucleus? Okay, so he's giving me the measurements in millimeters and the answer is in millimeters, so I can use it as it is. Or if I want to simply make things easier for me to do the math, so 2 millimeters is 2,000 micrometers, yep, divided by 500. So you're simply crossing these out. You're going to say 5 into 20, that's a 4. That's 4 micrometers, which is equal to 0.004 millimeters. Math can be done in so many different ways, whatever you're comfortable doing. Working with the 2 millimeters divided by 500 and working is just fine. You'll get the same. 2 divided by 500 will give you directly that number, okay? Whichever you're comfortable with. Which part of a cell makes glucose? The part that makes glucose is the chloroplast. In which part, and this is where you'll find the starch, where the glucose is stored. Excess glucose is going to be stored also in the chloroplast. In which part of a cell does photosynthesis take place in the chloroplast? Which row shows the structure on the outside of a plant cell and the location of the chloroplast in the cell? The structure on the outside of a plant cell is the cell wall, so these two are out, and the chloroplasts are found in the cytoplasm, so my correct answer is C. Okie dokie. The length of a mitochondrion in a photomicrograph is 15 millimeters. The actual length is 3 micrometers. So you're going to tell me, fine, 15,000 divided by 3. You're going to tell me it's magnified 5,000 times. Can you see that the numbers we use in biology are easy? They don't really need a calculator. You can just figure it out. Right. The diagram shows some cells, ciliated epithelial cells. Where are these cells found? These cells are found in the bronchial tree. There are two places where you find these cells. They're in the bronchial tree and they're also in the fallopian tube. So as we proceed in our syllabus, we're going to be introduced that in the female reproductive system, there are the oviducts, the fallopian tubes, and they are lined by the ciliated epithelium so that they sweep the egg towards the uterus. The other place where the ciliated epithelial cell is epithelial cells are found lining the trachea and the bronchi to sweep the mucus out of the bronchial system. The diagram shows some tissues in a part of a root plant root. The arrows represent the movement of water into and across the plant root tissues. Okay. How many different tissues are shown here? So we've got the epidermal tissue, we've got the cortical tissue, you've got the tissue in between here, and then you've got the xylem tissue. So it's either this is your xylem tissue. Obviously, this is the one in between, an endodermis between the cortical and the xylem. So we didn't take the endodermal, this one here. We're going to take it in the A level. So for me in the O level, can I answer this question? Yes, you can, because they're definitely not two types of tissue. You know that the xylem is a tissue. You know that the root hair cells are part of the epidermal, and there's another type of tissue in the middle. How can I tell that these are different types of tissue? Because we know that a tissue is made of a group of similar cells performing a function. So you can see that this is a tissue because they're all similar. This is a tissue because they're all similar. This layer here is a tissue because you have a different shaped layer of cells, and then you have the xylem, which we do know for a fact is a tissue. So it's B4. They're not 5, they're 4. Okay. Okay, so we've come to the end of this chapter. There'll be another video where we're going to go over the questions for movement in and out of the cells. That'll be shared shortly on YouTube.